The Black Space Marines just got an update. No, not those ones, those ones, those ones, or those ones. I'm talking about the stealthy ones. You know, the Raven Guard. Hopefully, you haven't forgotten about them because it seems like Games Workshop did. Until now. Well, they got a small update like a bunch of the other first founding chapters, and they also got a combat patrol and an updated detachment, and I think that's interesting enough to make a video on. So, I'll start with the combat patrol, which like every other combat patrol, you'll be able to buy it at £100 on the official Games Workshop store. But if you're a money saving individual, there are a bunch of discount retailers out there where you can get it for up to a 20% discount. And you know, gotta save them pennies. Now I'm going to go through what you get in the box and give my opinions on it, so you can make a clear, totally unbiased decision on the box, even though what is the actual likelihood that you would buy it anyway? Pretty slim I bet, but no matter. First of all, you get a captain with a jump pack, which I think is a great unit to get, so like all captains, he has the rights of battle, which allows you to use free stratagems on his unit, which is epic. He also gives your unit extra strength with Angel's Wrath, and a jump captain is just very on theme for the Raven Guard. This guy is very customizable with quite a few weapon options, and overall is a really fun leader unit. Next up, you get 5 Assault Intercessors with jump packs, which the captain can lead, which gives you a nice speedy unit able to deep strike into the backboard, and it doesn't get more Raven Guard than that. They'll do some decent melee damage with their weapons, free stratagem from the captain, and even some extra mortal wounds with the Hammer of Wrath. You also get 10 Infiltrators, which can be built as incursors for some sneaky Phobos units to skirmish across the board, and this is also on theme with the Raven Guard's stealthy approach to warfare, when they aren't absolutely sending it with jump packs, that is. Finally, you get an Invicta Tactical Warsuit, which is a model that I really like the look of because it reminds me of those warsuits from Avatar and The Matrix. With its Vanguard support ability, it can shoot enemies who shoot friendly Phobos infantry units within 6 inches of it, so it's sort of like get down while it blasts bitches apart with its array of light to medium weaponry. I don't think this vehicle fits the Raven Guard aesthetic, that is just my opinion. It does go well with Phobos infantry like the Infiltrators and Incursors, and it can also scout 8 inches, which is fun. You also get a Raven Guard transfer sheet for all your Raven Guard marking needs. For my final thoughts on this combat patrol, I think it's solid. Not quite as useful or versatile as the Imperial Fists one, but probably better received than the Salamanders one, because it doesn't come with any named characters or Infernus Marine spam, which I do personally like, but only because I play Salamanders. I think this combat patrol is still useful for Space Marine players though, even if you don't play Raven Guard. It gives you a nice start to a Phobos section for your army, with the Infiltrators or Incursors and Invicta Tactical Warsuit. But then also have a nice jump pack section with the jump intercessors and jump captain, which can be really good if used correctly, and I also just think they look sick. I wouldn't really recommend this combat patrol if you're trying to build a Space Marine army for the first time, unless you actually want a Raven Guard army, then I would say it's decent. But for other armies starting out, go get the chapter specific box, or the Imperial Fist one is good. However, I'm not saying it's useless because I think it's a great box to boost an already existing army with those Phobos and jump aspects. I do also like it's mostly on theme for the Raven Guard, apart from the Warsuit. Like I said before, it doesn't not feel Raven Guard to me, but the idea of a big ass walker stomping through the trees, lighting up the horizon with machine gun fire, just doesn't scream stealthy. But its lore does say it has silent reactors and servos, and then it also has the Scout and Phobos keywords, so I'm probably just a nitpicking bitch. Moving on from the combat patrol, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Yvonne Shan, who is the new chapter master of the Raven Guard, and just look at this model. It's absolutely stunning, in a sort of emo edgelord sort of way. I don't really know what he's standing on. I suppose it's a tree, in which case it's nice to see an edgelord standing on a tree instead of hanging from it. That joke probably just cost me half my audience. Lol. But yeah, if you know your Raven Guard lore, you'll know that Kayvan Shrike was the chapter master, but he stepped down, basically because he thought he was too reckless to be the chapter master and needed someone else with a bit more restraint and girth. Yvonne Shan is a character that has never been seen in-game in Warhammer 40k, so let's take a look at his datasheet. He has a pretty standard epic hero stat with your 5 wounds, 4+ invulnerable save and whatnot, but he does have a blistering 14-inch move. Bear in mind, other jump pack units have a 12-inch move. 12 inches is pretty mad. It's average. For his abilities, he gets Deep Strike, Stealth, which means he's -1 to hit against ranged attacks, and Lone Operative, which means he cannot be shot at outside of 12 inches, which is very good. Interestingly, unlike Kayvan Shrike, Yvonne Shan cannot lead any units, which I'm pretty sure ties in with its lore, but this isn't really a bad thing. So basically, now if you have Shan and Shrike in the same army, Shan loses his Lone Operative ability and Chapter Master keyword, but really Shrike is the one you want leading a unit anyway, because his Shadow Master ability, which essentially gives his whole unit Lone Operative. and he also gets Inspiring Commander with Jump Back Intercessors, which gives them 2 OC each. Back to Sharn now, his weapons include the Claws of Severax, which have the same stat block as Strikes, but it trades out the precision for sustained hits, which can be nice. He also gets a heavy bolt pistol, which isn't as good as Strike's precision pistol called Blackout, because it has less attacks, strength and damage, and it doesn't get precision. Sharn also has an ability called Master of Shadows. I can see how Sharn's Master of Shadows and Strike's Shadow Master may get confusing. Bloody Edgelords get some original names, but the Master of Shadows means you select an enemy unit, and until your next turn, for your charges within 12 inches of that unit, you can reroll your charge. His other ability is his Blackwing Mantle, which allows you to target Sharn with Rapid Ingress and Heroic Intervention for 0 command points. And even if you've already used that stratagem on a different unit that turn, you can still use it. So that's pretty useful. Overall, I think Yifan Sharn is a very nice addition to the Raven Guard roster. He has a lot of similarities to Kayvan's Strike, but at least it's very on theme for the Raven Guard. I don't know his in-game points, but I'd say 100 to be safe, but it could be a touch higher, but probably not. And you can pick this guy up for £28 or $45 on the official Warhammer site. But like most things in Warhammer, you can absolutely find it cheaper literally anywhere else. Now I'm going to go through the Raven Guard's new detachment, and like what the Salamanders did with the Forge Fathers Seekers detachment, they've rehashed the old Vanguard Spearhead, which was the old Raven Guard detachment, into the new detachment, which is exclusive to the Raven Guard, called the Shadowmark Talon. The melee detachment rule, however, stays the same as the original Vanguard one, which is that your models are -1 to hit when they're being shot at from a range greater than 12 inches, and they also get the benefit of cover. It's not a bad rule, it just works better against certain armies that rely more on shooting. In this new detachment though, you get another detachment rule called Unparalleled Tactician, which allows Yifan Sharn to use the new Into Darkness stratagem for 0 CP if he is on the field. And this allows you to go back into strategic reserves, which can be really cheeky, but overall the detachment rules are very similar. Now onto the enhancements, which most of them remain the same, but just have a different name. There's the Blackwing Shroud, which gives the infantry unit Infiltrate, which is the same as the old Blade-driven Deep enhancement. There's also Umbral Raptor, which gives the bearer both Stealth and Lone Operative, which is the same as the old Ghost Weave Cloak. So with a Jump Captain, you could have a pseudo Yifan Sharn, for whatever reason. You can also get the Coronal Susurrant, which gives you the Lord of the Sea aura, which makes enemy stratagems cost extra CP if they use it within 12 inches of you. But this is only for Phobos units, which again is the same as the old Shadow War Veteran enhancement, and it is pretty good. The Execute and Redeploy enhancement is the only one which has been replaced, with the Hunter's Instinct enhancement, which is like the White Skull one of the same name, while you can bring mounted units in your strategic reserves onto the board a turn earlier. But the one for this detachment isn't restricted to mounted models, and this is pretty scary, as with stratagems like Rapid Ingress, you could be getting some scary turn 1 charges, which is just so Raven Guard of you. Now onto the stratagems. So Armour of Contempt has stayed, which is your standard AP reduction stratagem, and Surgical Strikes from the Vanguard Spearhead is back, but it's called Lalo the Tyrants, which gives an infantry unit precision in melee. But it has been buffed, because the old Surgical Strikes cost 2 CP, but the new Lalo the Tyrants one only costs 1 CP. The next 3 stratagems are also from the Vanguard Spearhead, but they remain mostly unchanged with just different names. So you've got Stunning Fusillade, which if you're shooting an enemy more than 12 inches away from you, it improves the ballistic skill and AP by 1, and if 1 or more enemy models are destroyed, they have to take a Battle Shock test, and this is the same as the old Strike from the Shadows stratagem. Next you have Into Darkness, which replaced Guerrilla Tactics, which allows you to place 2 Phobos or Scout units, or 1 infantry unit, and place them into strategic reserves at the end of the enemy fight phase. But it's been ever so slightly buffed, because the old one you had to be at least 3 inches away from enemy models, but this isn't the case for the new one. The old Calculated Feint stratagem, which let you move away if you got charged, has been changed, but it's still similar. So now you have Raptorial Vengeance, which now allows you to move away if an enemy moves within 9 inches of you. For the final stratagem, and this one is a new one, which has replaced a deadly prize, it's called Feint and Thrust, which will allow your unit to shoot and charge in a turn in which you fell back. And if it's a Phobos squad, you can shoot and charge in a turn in which you advanced, which makes for some great manoeuvrability. The only downside is that it replaced the deadly prize stratagem, which was useful, because you could keep an objective if you weren't on it, but then it would also do mortal wounds to enemies, and this was both fun and pretty good. Overall, the stratagems haven't really changed all that much, apart from losing the Sabotage one, but some of the others have just got some slight improvements to make up for it. Anyway, that's all the new stuff and changes covered, but I understand this can be boring, and to any non-Space Marine players, I probably just sound like I'm talking nonsense. I guess just try your best to keep up with these sorts of videos. Make a fun challenge out of it, try and learn something. It may help you have an edge in your next battle, and who doesn't like winning? For my thoughts though, Combat Patrol's good, Yifan Sharn model and stats are good, and the new detachment doesn't really change too much, but it's interesting and does feel Raven Guardy. I'm interested to see how the new detachment will perform in battle, because just on paper it's very similar to the old Vanguard one, and then also Yifan Sharn is just very similar to Kayvan's Strike, so I can't really see it performing much differently than normal, but maybe it is slightly better, and a buff is a buff. thanks for watching this video. I actually forgot to ask you to subscribe to my last video, and I'm upset about that. So to make me feel something, subscribe. And by feel something, I mean feeling it in my special places. So thanks for that. Stay tuned for more Warhammer content, and I'll try my best to keep on top of the updates and stuff. But goodbye for now, and peace out.